What do you do when the person you trusted most reveals a secret so shattering it rewrites your entire past? That's the question I faced at our anniversary dinner when my wife's calm confession of a 2-year affair turned a night meant for love into one of betrayal, forcing me to confront the ruins of our life together and find a way to rebuild. This is the story of how I faced that moment and discovered strength I never knew I had. Anniversaries have a way of stirring up nostalgia, making you want to recapture the spark of those early days when love felt like it could conquer anything. For our 10th anniversary, I poured my heart into planning the perfect evening. I booked a table at La Bella Vita, a Chicago restaurant Olivia hadn't stopped raving about since our 3rd anniversary, when we'd laughed over tiramisu and dreamed about our future. Its candlelit ambiance and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline felt like the ideal backdrop to remind us of what we'd built. I reserved a spot by the window where the lights of the Loop would twinkle like stars, and arranged for the staff to present a bottle of Olivia's favorite Pinot Noir tied with a silk ribbon. I even commissioned a custom necklace, a delicate silver chain with a pendant engraved with our wedding date, a symbol of the decade we'd shared. I spent days crafting a speech, words meant to bridge the distance that had crept into our marriage over the past few months. Late nights, terse exchanges, a chill I couldn't name. I believed this night could rekindle the warmth, maybe even heal the cracks I'd tried to ignore. As we settled into our seats, the world felt right for the first time in ages. Olivia's smile, that radiant glow that once lit up my world, flickered across her face, and I let myself hope we could move past the rough patch. The city sparkled outside, casting a soft glow over our table, the candlelight dancing in her eyes. I raised my glass, ready to toast to us, to our 2 children, to the life we'd woven together through love and sacrifice. But before I could speak, Olivia leaned forward, her expression unsettlingly calm, and said words that made time stop. "I've been cheating on you for 2 years, Marcus, and I'm leaving you." The restaurant's hum, clinking glasses, murmured conversations faded into a dull roar. My glass hovered mid-air, my breath trapped in my chest. 2 years, not a fleeting lapse, but a deliberate betrayal, sustained through countless lies while I coached our son's soccer team, helped our daughter with homework, and believed in our family. I waited for a sign it was a cruel joke, but her eyes were steady, her voice stripped of remorse. Anger surged, hot and jagged, followed by a wave of humiliation, but I did something even I didn't expect. I smiled. "To your new life," I said, my voice matching her calm, raising my glass. Her brows furrowed, a flicker of confusion cracking her composure. She'd expected tears, shouting, maybe begging, not this quiet resolve. I leaned back, taking a slow sip of wine, the bitterness mingling with the taste of betrayal. "So," I said, my tone deceptively light, "does he make you happy?" Olivia shifted, her confidence wavering. "It's complicated," she muttered, avoiding my gaze. That hesitation told me everything. She thought she was escaping a life she deemed predictable, trading me for something shinier. But my reaction threw her off balance. The waiter approached with the dessert menu, oblivious to the emotional bomb Olivia had detonated. She waved him off, but I held up a hand. "I'll take a look," I said, flipping through the menu as if we were discussing the weather. I ordered a slice of cheesecake and a coffee, then glanced at her. "You should try the crème brûlée." She stared, incredulous. "How can you act like this isn't a big deal?" "Because it isn't," I replied, setting the menu aside. "You've made your choice, Olivia. There's no point in me falling apart now." That was a lie, of course. Inside, my heart was splintering, each beat a reminder of the life she'd dismantled. Every shared laugh, every late-night talk, every promise we'd made felt like a lie. But I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. When my cheesecake arrived, I excused myself and stepped outside, the cool Chicago air a sharp contrast to the chaos in my mind. I leaned against the building, the city's pulse thrumming around me, and called Nathan, my lawyer, a man who knew when to act without needing the full story. "I need your help tonight," I said. "Send me what you've got," he replied, his voice steady. Next, I dialed Alan, the private investigator I'd hired months ago when Olivia's late nights and secretive phone habits became impossible to ignore. "It's happening," I told him. "She admitted it. I need everything ready." Alan assured me it was handled, and I felt a flicker of control return, a lifeline in the storm. Back at the table, Olivia was hunched over her phone, the screen's glow illuminating a faint smile. She was texting him, her new, complicated partner, not even bothering to hide it. I slid into my seat, watching her, the way she guarded her phone, the slight flush on her cheeks, the refusal to meet my eyes. She'd already checked out of our marriage, erasing me from her life. "What will you tell the kids?" I asked, my voice cutting through the silence. Her head snapped up, her composure faltering. I'll figure it out," she stammered, the confidence she'd walked in with crumbling. "You'll figure it out," I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "That's reassuring." Her glare was sharp, but I saw the panic beneath it. "You don't need to make this harder than it is," she snapped. I chuckled, the sound hollow. "Harder for who, Olivia? You?" The waiter returned, sensing the tension but offering a polite smile. Olivia declined dessert again, but I ordered another coffee, savoring the moment. My mind drifted to the months that had led to this night. The signs had been there, her late nights, the locked phone, the way she flinched when I reached for her hand. I'd tried to talk, to ask what was wrong, but she'd brushed me off. "I'm just tired," or "Work's been crazy." I wanted to believe it was a phase, that every marriage had its lows. I'd spent sleepless nights wondering where I'd gone wrong, replaying our years together, our wedding in a small Chicago chapel, the birth of our son, our daughter's first steps. But doubt gnawed at me. And that's when I hired Alan. It was a gut-wrenching decision, entrusting my suspicions to a stranger, but his reports confirmed my fears. Photos of Olivia laughing with a man at a cafe on Michigan Avenue, slipping into a hotel downtown, kissing in a parked car near Lakeshore Drive. Dates, times, receipts, even snippets of their conversations. She thought she'd outsmarted me, but I'd been building a case while she built a new life. Olivia shifted, her discomfort growing in the stretching silence. "Why aren't you angry?" she asked, frustration creeping into her voice. "Why aren't you yelling?" I set my coffee down, meeting her gaze. "What's the point? You've made your decision. Getting angry won't change that." She blinked, thrown by my calm. "I didn't expect you to act like this." I smiled faintly, the edges sharp. "You thought I'd crumble, didn't you? Make a scene, beg you to stay?" Her silence was answer enough. The truth was, I'd crumbled months ago, lying awake, questioning every moment of our marriage, wondering if I'd failed as a husband, a father. But now, across from her, I felt clarity. This wasn't my failure, it was hers, her selfishness, her betrayal. The waiter brought the check and I reached for my wallet. Olivia started to protest, but I waved her off. "This one's on me," I said. She frowned, suspicious. "You don't have to act so magnanimous." "Magnanimous?" I laughed softly, the sound tinged with bitterness. "That's a big word for someone who just admitted to cheating." Her cheeks flushed, and she looked away, fidgeting with the tablecloth. As I signed the receipt, I glanced at her, my voice steady. "You've given me a lot to think about tonight, Olivia. I hope he was worth it." I stood, slipping on my jacket, and walked towards the door, the restaurant's warmth giving way to the crisp night air, the city's skyline a silent witness to my unraveling life. Outside, I dialed Alan again, my voice firm. She admitted it. Send me everything. Photos, videos, recordings. I want it ready. Consider it done, he replied. I stood on the sidewalk, the hum of Chicago's nightlife swirling around me. Olivia thought she'd blindsided me, but I was 10 steps ahead, my plan already in motion. As I returned to the table, her eyes narrowed, sensing a shift. "What were you doing out there?" I smiled, picking up my coffee. "Just enjoying the fresh air." The restaurant's chime rang as the door opened, and I didn't need to look to know who'd walked in. I'd orchestrated this moment down to the second. "You're not leaving yet," I said, my voice calm but laced with purpose. Olivia's gaze darted to the entrance, her face draining of color as she saw him. David, her lover, scanning the room with a cautious stride. "What did you do?" she hissed, panic rising. I gestured toward him, my tone even. "I figured it's time for a proper introduction. You've been seeing him for 2 years. It's only fair I meet him, don't you think?" She froze, words failing her as David approached, his confidence fading, a flicker of excitement in his eyes, it giving way to unease. "David," I greeted, standing and offering a handshake. He hesitated, then took it, confusion etched on his face. Hi," he said, glancing between us. "I wasn't expecting this." "Neither was I," said, gesturing to a chair. "But life's full of surprises, isn't it?" He sat, still unsure, while Olivia looked ready to bolt, her hands clutching the table's edge. I poured him a glass of wine, my movements deliberate. "So, you're the man my wife's been seeing behind my back. How's that going for you?" David's eyes widened, and he shot Olivia a nervous glance. "I think there's a misunderstanding," he stammered. "No misunderstanding," I said sharply, my voice cutting through the air. "I know everything, the late nights, the hotels, the lies. I've done my homework." He looked at Olivia, his expression shifting to accusation. "You said you were going to tell him," he said, his voice strained. "This isn't the time," she snapped through gritted teeth. "On the contrary," I said, leaning back, "this is the perfect time. You've been lying to both of us. Let's get it all out." The waiter approached, faltering at the tension, but I ordered another bottle of wine and a round of desserts, ignoring the heavy silence. "So, David," I began, my tone conversational, "what caught your eye about Olivia, her charm, her beauty, her knack for lying so convincingly?" Olivia's composure slipped. "Marcus, stop." David looked torn, his voice low. "I thought we had something real. She told me you were trapped in a loveless marriage, that you didn't care." I raised an eyebrow, the irony stinging. "Is that so? And yet here we are celebrating our anniversary. Doesn't seem loveless to me," Olivia muttered, glaring at David. "I didn't think you'd show up." He frowned. "I got a message saying you wanted to meet. Was that not you?" "No," she snapped, turning to me, her voice trembling with anger. "You set this up, didn't you?" I shrugged, sipping my wine. "Call it my anniversary gift to myself." The desserts arrived untouched as tension choked the table. "Tell me, David," I said, setting my fork down, "does it bother you that she's been lying to me for 2 years?" He frowned, his confusion deepening. 2 years? She told me it started 6 months ago." Olivia's face crumbled, her carefully constructed lies unraveling in real time. "I didn't want to overwhelm you," she said weakly. David's expression hardened, anger replacing confusion. "You've been lying to both of us," he said, his voice rising. "Welcome to my world," I said, raising my glass in a mock toast. David stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I need some air," he muttered, storming toward the exit. Olivia turned to me, her eyes blazing. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "Me?" I said, feigning innocence, but "I'm not the one who destroyed our marriage. I'm just cleaning up your mess." The waiter returned with the check, his eyes darting nervously between us. I handed him my card, offering a polite smile. "Thank you for the excellent service." I stood, nodding toward the door. You should go after him. You wouldn't want to lose him now, would you? Her glare could have burned through steel, but I walked out, leaving her to face the consequences of her choices. Outside, I leaned against the railing, the city lights flickering in the distance, a stark contrast to the darkness settling in my chest. David paced nearby, his face pale, brow furrowed with anger and confusion. You all right there, David? I asked, keeping my tone casual. He stopped, his jaw tightening. What are you playing at? Why set this up? Set it up? I repeated, tilting my head. I just wanted an honest conversation, clear the air, he snapped. You're humiliating her, and me. I crossed my arms, my voice steady. Humiliating you? You've been sleeping with my wife for 2 years, David. If anyone deserves to feel humiliated, it's you two. He opened his mouth to respond, but closed it again, the truth silencing him. Olivia stormed out, her heels clicking angrily against the pavement. David, let's go, she said sharply, grabbing his arm. He shook her off, stepping back. No, I think I'll stay. I want to hear what else he has to say. Olivia's expression faltered, her confidence wavering. She turned to me, her voice low and venomous. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Not particularly, I replied, my tone calm. I'd much rather be spending my anniversary with someone who respects me. Her jaw tightened, but she smoothed her dress, trying to regain control. You've made your point, Marcus. Can we stop this now? Oh, I'm just getting started, I said, motioning David back inside, ignoring Olivia's protests. He hesitated, then followed reluctantly, Olivia trailing behind, her movement stiff and defensive. Back at the table, the half-eaten desserts and empty wine glasses sat untouched, a stark reminder of how far the evening had spiraled. I gestured for David to take a seat, and he complied, while Olivia remained standing, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, she said, her voice trembling with anger. I'm trying to understand, I said, leaning forward, my voice steady but heavy with emotion. I'm trying to understand how the woman I married, the mother of my children, turned into someone who could betray me so completely. Her eyes darted away, unable to meet mine. David shifted uncomfortably, the weight of the confrontation pressing down on him. Tell me, David, I said, turning my attention to him. What did she tell you about me? That I was controlling? That I didn't love her? That I was too busy to notice? He swallowed hard, glancing at Olivia before answering. She said you were distant, that you didn't care anymore, that the marriage was over, but you didn't want to admit it. I nodded, my lips pressing into a thin line, the betrayal cutting deeper with every word. And you believed her, I said, my voice quiet but sharp. Olivia finally spoke, her voice defensive. It's not like that, Marcus. You were distant. You shut me out. I shut you out? I repeated, my voice rising slightly, the anger I'd suppressed bubbling to the surface. I worked 12-hour days to provide for this family. I sacrificed time with my friends, my hobbies, everything, so you could have the life you wanted. I was there for every school play, every soccer game, every late-night fever. And this is how you repay me? She flinched, her defenses crumbling under the weight of the truth. I made a mistake, she said quietly, her voice barely audible. No, Olivia, I said, shaking my head, my voice steady but firm. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or missing a dinner reservation. What you did was a deliberate choice, a series of choices over 2 years to lie, cheat, and destroy everything we built together. David shifted in his seat, his discomfort evident. I didn't know it was that long, he muttered, his voice heavy with realization. I turned to him, my gaze steady. And now you do. So tell me, David, does it bother you that she's been lying to both of us? He stared at me, his jaw clenching, and after a long pause, he admitted, Yes, it does. Olivia's head snapped toward him, her eyes wide with panic. "David, no!" he interrupted, standing abruptly. "I need to think," he said, his voice cold, and turned toward the door, leaving Olivia and me alone at the table. The silence between us was deafening, a chasm filled with the wreckage of our marriage. Olivia sank into the chair David had vacated, her shoulders as slumping as the weight of the evening pressed down on her. "Marcus," she said softly, her voice pleading, "can we just talk about this? Just the two of us?" I stared at her, my expression unreadable. "Why? So you can spin another lie? So you can twist the truth to fit your narrative?" Tears welled up in her eyes, but I felt no sympathy, only the cold clarity of betrayal. "I didn't want it to end like this," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Neither did I replied, standing, my voice firm. "But you made your choices, Olivia. Now you have to live with them." I left her sitting there, the weight of her actions sinking in, and stepped into the cool night air, the restaurant door swinging shut behind me with a sense of finality. Outside, I pulled out my phone and called Alan, my voice resolute. "It's time," I said. "Send everything to her and David. Make it public, too. The people closest to us need to know what she's been doing." There was a brief pause on the other end. "Are you sure?" Alan asked. "I've never been more sure of anything," I replied, ending the call. I stood on the sidewalk, the city's pulse thrumming around me, the lights of Chicago reflecting off the river in the distance. Olivia thought she had control, that she could walk away with her head held high, but the narrative was mine now. I returned home, poured myself a glass of whiskey, and sat at the kitchen table waiting. It didn't take long. My phone buzzed relentlessly with notifications, emails, texts, calls flooding in from friends, family, and acquaintances. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I opened my laptop and logged into the anonymous account Alan and I had set up weeks ago. The evidence was all there. Photos of Olivia and David at a cafe, entering hotels, kissing in parked cars. Text message screenshots, detailed accounts of their affair, recordings of their conversations. Every lie she'd told, every betrayal she'd committed, was laid bare for anyone to see. I watched as the views climbed rapidly, comments pouring in from our social circle. Some expressed shock. How could she do this? Others voiced disgust. She doesn't deserve forgiveness. A few tried to defend her, suggesting there must be two sides, but the overwhelming consensus was clear. Olivia had crossed a line, and there was no coming back. My phone buzzed again, and this time I glanced at the screen. It was Olivia, her name flashing like a wound. I let it ring out, but she called again and again. Her persistence, a mix of desperation and fury. Finally, I answered, my tone calm but cold. "What do you want, Olivia?" Her voice was frantic, trembling with anger and fear. "What the hell did you do, Marcus? Why would you do this?" "Why?" I repeated, leaning back in my chair, the whiskey burning in my throat. "You spent 2 years tearing apart our marriage behind my back. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences?" "This is cruel," she spat, her composure slipping. "You're trying to ruin me." "No," I said evenly, my voice steady as stone. "You ruined yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth." There was a long silence, broken only by her ragged breathing. Finally she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you want from me, Marcus?" I sighed, setting my glass down. "What I wanted, Olivia, was a partner, someone I could trust, someone who valued the life we built. But you made it clear that wasn't you. Now all I want is for you to face the consequences of your actions." I hung up, the silence of the house settling around me like a heavy fog. The fallout was swift and brutal. Friends who once filled our home with laughter cut ties with Olivia. Their social media posts now met with silence or outright hostility. Her job at a prominent Chicago marketing firm ended abruptly, her scandal too public for the company to ignore. David's law firm placed him on indefinite leave, his carefully crafted reputation in tatters. Mutual friends reached out to me, some expressing shock, others disappointment, a few blaming me for airing the truth so publicly, but most offering support. I focused on shielding our children, keeping their routines as normal as possible, but they were perceptive. One night at dinner, my youngest, Ethan, looked up from his plate, his fork poking at his food. "Where's Mom?" he asked, his voice small. I set my fork down, choosing my words carefully. "She's staying somewhere else for a little while, buddy, but I'm here, and we'll get through this together." He nodded, his eyes searching mine for reassurance, and I forced a smile, my heart aching for the innocence he'd lose to this mess. Olivia's sister Sarah called a few days later, her voice heavy with regret. "I can't believe she did this, Marcus," she said. "She's been calling me nonstop, begging for help, saying she didn't mean for it to get this bad." I leaned against the kitchen counter, the weight of her words settling in. "I can't let her back into my life, Sarah. Not after everything." She sighed, torn between loyalty and disgust. "I understand. She's my sister, but she burned this bridge. Just know I'm here for you and the kids if you need anything." "Thank you," I said, meaning it, grateful for her support in a world that felt increasingly fractured. Legally, Nathan was relentless, ensuring the divorce favored me. The mountain of evidence, photos, texts, recordings, sealed Olivia's fate in court. I was awarded primary custody of Ethan and Lily, a relief that lifted a weight from my shoulders. Olivia fought hard, painting herself as a victim, claiming I'd been distant, but the judge saw through her narrative. When the divorce was finalized, I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief that it was over, sadness for the life we'd lost, and disbelief that this was how our story ended. I moved us into a new home in a quiet Chicago suburb, smaller and cozier than the house we'd shared with Olivia, free of the memories that haunted every corner. It was a fresh start, a blank slate for me and the kids. A week later, David reached out, asking to meet. Curiosity got the better of me, and we met at a coffee shop on the edge of town. He looked rough, unshaven, clothes wrinkled, the polish of his former self gone. "I owe you an apology," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "I didn't know she was lying to me. She said you were cold, controlling, that you didn't care about her. I believed her. I was an idiot." I sipped my coffee, my gaze steady. "You were an idiot," I agreed. "But that doesn't absolve you. You knew she was married and you pursued her anyway." He nodded, his shoulders slumping. "I have no excuse. I just needed to say I'm sorry." I leaned back, considering him. "Apology accepted, but don't expect forgiveness. Not yet." He nodded, standing to leave. "Take care, Marcus." "You too," I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. Life moved forward, one careful step at a time. I focused on creating stability for Ethan and Lily, filling our new home with warmth and routine. One afternoon, while struggling with a stubborn lawnmower in the front yard, I met Claire, my neighbor. She strolled over with a cheerful grin, her auburn hair catching the sunlight. "Need a hand?" she called. "I could use all the help I can get," I admitted, stepping back as she inspected the machine. She fiddled with a few knobs, gave it a hard yank, and the motor roared to life. "You've got to show it who's boss," she said, laughing. I chuckled, wiping my hands on my jeans. "Thanks, I owe you one." "No problem," she said, extending a hand. "I'm Claire." "Marcus," I replied, shaking it, her warmth already easing the weight I carried. Over the next few weeks, our chance encounters at the grocery store, the park, the local coffee shop turned into longer conversations. Claire had an easy way about her, a quiet strength that drew me in. She learned about my kids, my work, and, bit by bit, the shadow of what had happened with Olivia. I didn't share much, but she listened without judgment, her presence a steady anchor. One evening, she knocked on my door with a casserole dish in hand. "Figured you could use a break from cooking," she said, smiling. The kids took to her immediately, their laughter filling the house as we ate her homemade lasagna. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope, a sense that life could be good again. Claire became a regular part of our lives, her presence gentle but transformative. She helped Lily with a school art project, taught Ethan how to bake cookies, and lent me tools when I decided to build a tree house in the backyard. One afternoon, as we worked on the treehouse, she paused, looking up at the structure with a satisfied smile. "You're really good at this," she said. "Years of practice," I replied, hammering in a nail. "I used to build furniture before life got complicated." She glanced at me, her eyes soft. "You should get back into it. You're clearly passionate about it." Her words lingered, and that night I found myself sketching designs for a coffee table, the first spark of creativity I'd felt in years. With Claire's encouragement, I started woodworking again, crafting furniture in the garage during my free time. What began as a hobby grew into a side business, with Claire handling the marketing, setting up a website, managing social media, while I focused on the craftsmanship. Orders trickled in, then poured, and for the first time in years, I felt a sense of purpose beyond survival. The kids thrived too. Ethan joined a soccer team, Lily discovered a love for painting, and our home became a haven of laughter and possibility. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, Lily looked up and asked, "Claire, are you going to marry Dad?" The question caught us off guard, Claire's cheeks turning pink as she glanced at me. "Well," she said, choosing her words carefully, "that's something your dad and I would need to talk about, but I'll always be here for you, no matter what." Her answer satisfied Lily, who went back to her plate. But later, alone on the porch, I brought it up. "The kids love you," I said, turning to her, "and so do I." She smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. "I love you too, Marcus. All of you." That moment marked a turning point, a quiet confirmation that the life we were building was real. Trust was still fragile, but Claire's steady presence rebuilt it, piece by piece. One night, I admitted, "I didn't think I'd ever trust again after Olivia. I wasn't sure I wanted to try." She took my hand, her grip warm and grounding. "Trust takes time, Marcus, and so does healing, but you're stronger than you think." Her words became a mantra, a reminder that I was more than the pain I'd endured. Olivia faded into obscurity, her once glamorous life reduced to a shadow. Through Sarah, I learned she'd moved in with her parents, working odd jobs to scrape by. Her social circle dissolved, her reputation in ruins. She sent a handwritten letter filled with apologies and regret, acknowledging the pain she'd caused. "I see now how wrong I was," she wrote. "I thought I was chasing happiness, but all I found was emptiness." For a moment, I felt a pang of sympathy. But it passed. I folded the letter and tucked it away, choosing not to respond. Her remorse couldn't undo the damage, couldn't rebuild the family she'd shattered. Years later, Claire and I married in a small ceremony, Ethan and Lily beaming as they stood beside us. Our home was alive with laughter, a testament to the life we'd built from the ashes of betrayal. One evening, as we watched the kids chase fireflies in the backyard, Claire asked, "Do you think about her?" I paused, the question stirring memories I'd long buried. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but she's the past. This, us, the kids, this life, that's what matters." She nodded, her hand in mine. "I'm glad you found peace." I squeezed her hand, my heart full. "So am I." Sitting at our table, Surrounded by the warmth of family, I reflected on the journey that brought me here. The scars of Olivia's betrayal remained, faint but present, a reminder of the strength it took to rebuild, but they no longer defined me. The best chapters of my story were still being written, filled with love, trust, and the promise of a future I'd fought to create. And as Ethan and Lily's laughter echoed through the house, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be.
Thank you for listening. Please share your thoughts, like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more.